On September 18th, 2018, during the 70th Primetime Emmy Awards, a certain audience member was going viral on social media for their rather bizarre appearance. Almost immediately, theories began popping up, with some suggesting that this was actually Michael Jackson in disguise, believing that the King of Pop actually faked his death 9 years prior and was now making his first public appearance with a new face. In actuality, this is just comedian Jay Pharoah wearing makeup and prosthetics to appear as the fictional character of Teddy Perkins from the show Atlanta.
It's Teddy Perkins! Holy sh**!
Created by Donald Glover, the series follows Ernest, a Princeton dropout trying to manage his cousin Alfred's budding rap career as Paperboy, while navigating their absurd version of the city of Atlanta. The show blends sharp social commentary with dreamlike storytelling, exploring themes of race, fame, and identity through a mix of humor and surrealism. However, the 16th episode, titled Teddy Perkins, is quite a detour from the rest of the show, acting as a 41-minute-long horror film rather than a typical episode that people were used to. The usual humor that Atlanta is known for is largely absent. Instead, we get treated to a very uncomfortable story in one of the most disturbing episodes in TV history.
I can imagine.
No, you can't! You have no idea!
In the episode, Darius Epps, played by Lakeith Stanfield, responds to an online ad about a very valuable piano once owned by musician Benny Hope. He visits a mansion owned by a mysterious man named Teddy Perkins, whose unsettling behavior raises suspicions. Teddy, who claims to be Benny's caretaker, refuses to let Darius meet Benny due to Benny's photosensitivity and wheelchair use. Despite Alfred's warnings over the phone, Darius explores further and begins to suspect that Teddy is actually Benny, hiding behind a persona. Teddy reveals plans to turn the mansion into a museum and shares disturbing stories of their abusive upbringing by their father. Darius manages to acquire the piano but gets stuck in the mansion's malfunctioning elevator, where he encounters a bandaged man presumed to be Benny, who warns him of Teddy's intentions. Ignoring the warning, Darius tries to leave but finds Teddy blocking his truck. Returning inside, Darius arms himself with a fireplace poker and confronts Teddy. While watching old film reels of a young boy playing piano, their conversation turns rather grim as Teddy holds Darius at gunpoint, intending to frame him for a staged murder to gain publicity for the museum. As the tension peaks, the real Benny unexpectedly arrives, severely maimed and disfigured, but alive. Benny confronts Teddy, revealing his brother's murderous intent. In a shocking turn, Benny then shoots Teddy before tragically ending his own life right in front of Darius.
Whoa, wait!
Oh,
As the police arrive, Darius is left shaken, leaving the crime scene behind as the song Evil by Stevie Wonder plays over the credits. So, what is this? What does it all mean? Well, I think the most important place to start is to look at its themes and who Teddy Perkins is supposed to represent. I think it's very fair to say that one of the most striking parallels you can make right off the bat is to Michael Jackson's very well documented childhood under his father, Joe Jackson. Like Teddy and Benny, Jackson endured relentless pressure to achieve perfection in his craft, often at the expense of his childhood. In the episode, Teddy explicitly reveals that he and Benny were physically abused by their father, who sought to mold them into musical prodigies.
That it failed meant physical punishment. You're one of the best out of us.
This dynamic mirrors Michael Jackson's life, where the pursuit of excellence became synonymous with the loss of personal agency and self-worth. The episode amplifies this connection through Teddy's transformation. His pale, mask-like face and unsettling demeanor evoke the physical and emotional changes that Michael underwent later in life, allegedly tied to years of trauma and self-image struggles. I mean, this is so clearly supposed to be a representation of Michael Jackson. By framing Teddy's obsessive need to preserve their legacy through a museum, the narrative critiques the idea that success can ever truly justify suffering. This thematic link suggests that the scars left by such abuse are not only personal but also societal, as we glorify the end product while ignoring the cost. Teddy's fractured identity can also be tied to Marvin Gaye, whose life was marked by a strained relationship with his father. Gaye's father was both a source of approval and immense conflict, culminating in a tragic end where Marvin was killed by him. Similarly, Teddy's obsession with creating a museum to commemorate Benny and their abusive upbringing highlights a distorted attempt to reconcile personal trauma with a public image. The irony, of course, is that Teddy's fixation on their legacy only deepens his inability to face reality. This theme of fractured identity is made explicit when Darius begins to suspect that Teddy and Benny are the same person, a notion reinforced by Teddy's erratic behavior and performative demeanor. The blurred line between the brothers hints at how public figures like Gaye and Jackson often struggled to separate who they were from what their audiences expected them to be. The episode uses Teddy's persona as a metaphor for how fame can hollow out an individual, leaving behind only a shell molded by external expectations.
You're my sacrifice.
Both Michael Jackson and Marvin Gaye left behind extraordinary artistic legacies, but these achievements are often overshadowed by the pain and tragedy of their personal lives. In the episode Teddy Perkins, the mansion itself becomes a symbol of this duality. It's a shrine to the brothers' musical accomplishments, but also a mausoleum housing the physical and emotional decay wrought by their father's ambitions. Teddy's plan to turn the mansion into a museum underscores this very contradiction. He wants to immortalize their greatness while glossing over the cost that it demanded. This is reflected in the grotesque gift shop that Teddy proudly displays, filled with memorabilia meant to glorify Benny's career. The triviality of these items starkly contrasts with the deep wounds they represent. The episode critiques the audience's complicity in this cycle. We consume and celebrate greatness, often oblivious or indifferent to the suffering it took to create. By drawing these comparisons, the narrative asks whether a legacy born from pain is worth preserving at all.
Said, your brother plays pain better than anyone.
For both Marvin Gaye and Michael Jackson, music was simultaneously a refuge and a source of immense pressure. The piano in this episode serves as a potent symbol of this duality. It's the object that ties Teddy and Benny to their father's abuse, yet it's also the instrument through which they achieved their success. Benny's ability to coherently speak, combined with the haunting home videos of piano lessons, emphasizes how the very act of creating music became an extension of their suffering. This duality is central to Teddy's motivations. His desire to preserve the piano, and by extension their legacy, is rooted in his inability to separate the beauty of their music from the ugliness of its origins. It critiques the romanticization of artistic suffering, suggesting that while we may celebrate the art, we often ignore the damage done to the artist.
And I remember going to the recording studio. There was a park across the street, and I'd see all the children playing, and they'd be rooting and making noise, and I would cry. It would make me sad that I would have to go and work instead.
While researching for this analysis, I found a comment under a video by The Most Unruly. The comment was made by YouTube user Claudio Pascal, and I found it to be really thought-provoking. I'm going to read their comment out as is. Full credit for this thought belongs to them, of course. The thing I liked about this episode is that it, to me at least, felt like a very much delayed apology to Michael Jackson, which I don't think anyone ever did while he was alive, especially not at the end. People adored, idolized, revered him, and we call him king to this day, but we conflate that with an apology when it really is the opposite. He should be thankful for the amazing career he had, we say. But what is a king really, if not the one who serves the kingdom? And Michael served the kingdom since he was 5 years old. Belt whippings and all be damned. He served dutifully, and beyond any and all expectations, he served more than soldiers, who had the privilege of enlisting at only 17. And our king died sullied, because once the love dried up, the allegations came, and just like that, he died a villain. After serving for so many years, he died a monster, scorned, embroiled in legal woes, and most certainly misunderstood. I really liked this episode because I do believe Michael was owed an apology. He deserved at least that much. Oh, and the best part is that it ended up being not just an apology to Michael, but all the other black stars who were made to sacrifice their life to escape, what? Poverty. Because yes, although it is also about the glory, it was about the money first and foremost. Let's not kid ourselves. End quote. The notion of Teddy Perkins acting as a delayed apology to figures like Michael Jackson speaks volumes about the societal mechanisms that create and destroy icons. While we idolize artists, elevating them to near mythical status, we simultaneously dehumanize them, reducing their worth to their ability to serve our expectations. The episode's portrayal of Teddy, and by extension, Benny, critiques how the public's adoration often serves as a veneer that masks the deeper neglect and exploitation that these figures endure. Michael Jackson's entire life exemplifies this paradox. Crowned the king of pop, his every move was scrutinized, dissected, and consumed by an adoring public. Yet, as the YouTube comment points out, the love we showed him was not an apology for the harm inflicted on him. It was, in fact, part of that harm. By demanding he serve as a source of joy and perfection, even from the age of 5 years old, we ignored the immense personal toll it took on him. In Teddy Perkins, this dynamic plays out as Teddy and Benny's father molds his sons into musical prodigies, using violence and control to extract their talent. The show makes it clear that their greatness was not nurtured but extracted at a brutal cost, just as society extracts from its stars without consideration for their well-being. In its haunting conclusion, the episode of Teddy Perkins isn't just a weird bottle episode to a surreal TV show. It's a meditation on the cost of greatness and the human toll of legacy. By holding a mirror to figures like Jackson and Gay, it forces us to confront our role as an audience in perpetuating their struggles. The episode leaves behind an unsettling realization. The forces that craft icons often dismantle them, piece by piece. Perhaps that's the true horror. Not what Teddy Perkins represents, but what we as a society have come to accept as the price of brilliance.
Sacrifice is unnecessary, Darius.
Maybe. But your dad should have said sorry.